forward.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the CEC15 business meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. This meeting is called to order at 6:35 p.m. Unfortunately, we had a cancellation of our Mandarin and Spanish interpreter, so we do not have interpretation this evening. Very, very sorry about that. I will turn the floor over to our parliamentarian, Joseph Alexander.
Sorry, I was muted. Wait.
Camille, do you want to do the roll call first?
Yeah.
Sure. Let's do the roll call first then.
Okay. Camille Casaretti.
Present.
Antonia, yes, I'm here. Tia?
Here.
Vincent Liu?
Here.
Nana?
Here.
Alfred? I didn't see him over there. Does anybody else see him in the list?
No.
I don't see. All right, Joseph?
Present.
Yvonne Bonda? No. Nancy Randall?
Present.
Vanessa Uoka? I don't see her. And Nakia Muhasa Brown?
Here.
And Jared Moser, he's not on, is he?
No.
Okay. All right. Maybe some of these folks will join us later. All right. It doesn't seem like we have anybody from the public, but I will put the reminder to sign in the chat. Oh, we do have one member of the public here. Okay, cool. All right, I will turn it over to the parliamentarian to read the public comment.
Make a motion.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to amend tonight's agenda to add a review of the bylaws amendment to add an equity committee.
Okay, I will second the motion.
Okay, is this okay with everybody? We were supposed to put this on the agenda and it was just an oversight. It's not anything different than we discussed at the last meeting.
Shall we do a roll call vote on changing the, adding this to the agenda?
Do we have
Sure.
quorum?
Or
Do we
I
have
think-
quorum to vote? I just want to make sure.
We do have quorum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Antonia, can you send the agenda to me? I don't think I have it.
It was sent to the public, Vincent, and it's in the Google Docs. You should have access to it.
So just put in the agenda 2022-05-10 business meeting, and it should pop right up.
Vanessa is saying that she is connecting right now.
Okay, all right. I will add her.
I don't think I have access to the Google Docs.
Okay, let me hold on. Let me just see what's going on here.
I'm sorry for my interruption. There's an open motion. Should
There
we
is.
vote
Yeah.
for that now?
Okay. All right, I will take care of the other issue after the roll call vote. So we are voting to amend the agenda to review the bylaws amendment to add and Equity Committee. I have seconded the motion. Camille, how do you vote?
That's fine with me.
Okay, and I am okay with that. Tia?
Yes.
Vincent?
Yes.
Nana?
Yes.
Alfred's not here. Let's see.
Yvonne is here too now. Sorry.
Yvonne just joined us, but okay. Joseph Alexander.
I vote yes.
Okay. Should Yvonne vote? He just joined us. He's a little awkward.
Yvonne, we're just voting to amend the agenda. We forgot to add a line item about discussing the bylaw amendment.
And Vanessa just joined too, I guess. Ivan, how do you vote on amending the agenda to add this agenda item?
Yes.
Okay. Nancy?
Yes.
Vanessa?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I just got in.
Okay. Okay. What you want to just abstain?
Abstain.
Yeah. Okay. And Nakia Muhasa Brown.
Yes.
Okay. So the motion passes, and we will add. Where do you want to add this in?
Let's just add it at the end.
Okay, I will add it at the end.
Vanessa, basically, we forgot to put a line item on the agenda to discuss the bylaw amendment from the last meeting. So just trying to do this officially. And then, so the other thing is we had on the agenda a speaker from the park team in Sunset Park, and there was a miscommunication. They are going to be coming to the next meeting, not to this one. So we regained a little bit of time there too. Joe, do you want to just do that public comment before we start?
I will. Effective April 15, 2022, Governor Hochul signed Executive Order 11.5 extending virtual access to public meetings under New York State's Open Meetings Law, which allows New Yorkers to virtually participate in local government meetings until the state of emergency for COVID-19 expires on May 15, 2022. As a result of recent amendments to the Open Meetings Law, citywide and community education councils can continue to hold virtual and/or hybrid meetings until June 8, 2022. After that date, councils will no longer be able to hold fully remote meetings, but may choose to hold hybrid meetings provided certain requirements are satisfied. This will be discussed later in tonight's meeting. Over to you, Antonia.
Okay, I am just sharing the link to the agenda for the meeting with everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hold on a second, sorry.
So just to reiterate, all of the CEC members have access to the Google Docs, and these agendas are available to all of you. They're made like a month or so in advance. So feel free to look at them. Feel free to make suggestions. Everybody is welcome to participate in building these agendas. And so I encourage you to do that. All right, so let's get on to the president's update. So welcome everyone. We are gathering here tonight to share some updates, to review a few draft resolutions, and to amend our bylaws to include the formation of an equity committee, which was born out of our ad hoc diversity committee. And I just want to commend Nancy Randall for doing an excellent job with the committee. She has been a fantastic chair. This team is constantly working to find new ways to identify and eliminate barriers of systematic racism. Nancy was also a member on the PAR team for the Subdistrict 3 rezoning. And she has been working with Sunset Park PAR team as well to support them and answer questions about the PAR. So great job, Nancy. Participatory Action Research Team was formed thanks to the work and advocacy of many families in order to guarantee that every child living in Sunset Park is served equitably and being provided with more enrichment and academic opportunities. We've been working for over 6 years with the District 15 community to find ways to stop tracking our children, integrate classrooms, to create opportunities for every single child. Segregation harms all students as it denies all groups the opportunity to learn together and to live successfully in one of the most diverse cities in the United States. So please keep in mind that there are a variety of ways that schools can be segregated by race, by poverty, sometimes by home language. As members of this council, we're here to make sure that every student succeeds, especially those in the most need. I'm proud to say that our district leaders believe in the school-wide enrichment model, which has been proven to increase academic outcomes as well as develop gifts and talents of every child. And as this district expands, we will be discussing how CEC15 can support SEM in our schools to advance equity and academic achievement for every single student. Many families have been asking about more seats in the Summer Rising program. All students who are mandated to attend summer school will be receiving a seat. There were some seats set aside for the mandated summer school students, but because the promotion and doubt determinations have not been made yet, it's possible that a few more seats will open up. And we've had people requesting to get information on the middle school diversity plan, to have an update. We're all very interested in hearing how that's going. The vendor that we worked with during the PAR process, WXY, has been engaged by the DOE, and they're going to be producing a report soon, hopefully. Some basic record keeping. If anyone has any expenses that they need to submit, please do that before June 10th, because it takes a while to get these documents submitted. Sometimes they get bounced back, so please do not wait until the last minute. And I would ask our members to please fill out the IPRs, which are the individual performance reports. Those are due the 15th of every month. And this is a requirement in the New York State education law. Many of our members are out of compliance, so let's please try to get that done. And if somebody could drop the link to April's IPR in the chat, that would be great, in case just to have easy access. I have some announcements of meetings happening this week. On Thursday, May 12th, 7th, annual Dyslexia Awareness Day. Joanne Simon, our assemblywoman, is hosting. And this event builds support for the dyslexic community and those with related learning disabilities. This year's program will center on youth voices, featuring a panel of teens with dyslexia. And we're going to be hearing from parent advocates and from experts on how to create learning environments where everyone belongs. Mayor Adams and Chancellor Banks will be speaking about improving literacy rates, strengthening our education system, and ending the school to prison pipeline. So again, Dyslexia Awareness Day on Thursday, May 12th, and this is a free online event, which we can drop the link in the chat, please. Last night, we had the first of our human rights workshops. It was totally amazing. And I would love to say that we had a recording to share, but we don't, because human rights law is constantly changing. And so there are they're always doing these workshops. We are lucky enough to have 2 more scheduled on the next 2 Monday nights following. So if you'd like to sign up for that, the information is on our CEC website. And some bad news is that the Brooklyn North Day of Nonviolence is going to be postponed. They had some trouble getting the speakers that they wanted to, but we were lucky to have the director of school safety come to our meeting recently to help us understand some of the school safety protocols. So that video is available on our YouTube page if anybody wants to watch it or share it with other families or community members in the school. And okay, so congratulations to PS 295 and MS 443 on the opening of their community playground. This schoolyard was designed by students, staff, family members, and community members throughout the 2 schools. And this was through the Trust for Public Lands Playground program. It was delayed due to the pandemic, but we're very happy to have this new outdoor space available to our students and to the broader community. So if you're over there, check out the green infrastructure elements that will capture more than 1 inch of rainwater in storm events. That's very exciting. CEC15 is going to be hosting a town hall to meet the candidates who have applied for the superintendent position. We submitted 2 dates to the DOE and just found out that one of those dates, May 20th, has been chosen. So please make sure that you are available on May 20th, and we're going to work out the start time, hopefully. I want to acknowledge all of the emails that we received over the last couple of days about amending the ESSA law and adjusting the Title I thresholds. We are definitely going to be working to support that and have a resolution drafted, and hopefully we'll be able to present that at our next meeting. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is this morning, the Senate Education Committees had meetings and voted on a couple of issues that are going to be brought to the Senate floor to vote on. One is a bill that establishes a safety and school transportation task force. I know a lot of District 15 families and community members have been working to try to get this to happen. And so please make sure you're calling your senator to say that you support Bill S652. And hopefully we can have some changes made to the way busing happens. Another bill that was presented by Senator Liu, S8924, requires that instruction is aligned to the CRSE framework that the Board of Regents has put out. And as we all know, CRSE is going to help our students and our communities to really understand each other and respond in a much more positive way. There has been a rise in anti-Asian violence and anti-Semitic crimes. And so, the DOE supports this work, obviously, and this bill would make it mandatory in all schools in New York State. So that seems very worthwhile in supporting. And then another bill that is adding a clause about the citywide education council presidents, that they would be allowed to vote in the member election. This, I'm not sure why that didn't go into the law 2 years ago, but we have been advocating to make that happen, and it looks like it is now on the table. So that's great news. And then another bill that is going to formalize the CEC15 Council. They also do not exist in the state law. So hopefully the Senate will pass that as well. And then the last bill that was discussed today, which seems really necessary, relates to assistant principals being assigned to schools. Right now, an assistant principal is not a mandatory position in a school. It seems crazy to think that that could be true, but it is. And so this bill would make assistant principals mandated at every school. So if anybody has any questions or things they'd like to add, this would be the time to ask. Okay, so then let's move on to the next agenda item, which is election of a CEC15 secretary. So here we are. We are in May. This position was supposed to be filled in July. And I am wondering if anybody is interested in being the CEC secretary. Under normal circumstances, this is not a hard job. We do have some hope of having an administrative assistant in the near future. And at that point, your job as the secretary would basically be to review the minutes that the AA prepares and confirm that all of the votes are accurate. Anyone? Okay. How are we doing with minutes?
I think there's quite a few of us who need to hand in our minutes that we were assigned.
This is a super important and necessary job. I know, like, we've been sort of kicking the can down the road, but we really need to have these minutes done because, you know, people do go to our website and they are trying to find out what's going on in the district. And yes, we do have the videos online. Yes, people can watch them. I sometimes watch them myself, but that is a big commitment to sit and watch a 2 or 3 hour video and versus reading a piece of paper that's a couple of pages long. So I implore you to please think about if you are able to be the secretary. And I will just ask one more time. Any takers? Nancy is asking, can we go over the assignment of minutes to make sure what we all have left to do?
I would have to sort of inventory that. I'd have to go back and look up the last email I sent to everybody about it and see which minutes we've already voted on. It would take me a bit to dig that up.
Okay, so we'll just do that by email.
Yeah.
Nakia, you have your hand up?
Yes. Is there a place where, I'm confused about where this resides as far as their list of people on the team who have certain months or weeks?
Oh, right.
How is it organized? Where do I go to look at it?
Okay, so what happened was we didn't have a secretary for quite a while. And then at some point last fall, we sort of assigned people to do certain months or certain meetings. And I guess maybe you were not a member at that point. So perhaps you weren't assigned one. And I can certainly assign you a meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that assigned minutes. Yeah, so then at least
Nancy found it. Okay. I know Tia and Joe sent in theirs. I don't Camille, you sent in yours.
I have
Nancy,
one more that I'm going to do. I think I gave you like 3.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, obviously this list stopped in January. So we have all the minutes from January until May as well that we have.
I think I did 3 of them since January. I was trying to do them as we were going.
Yeah, so I'll need to go through and send to divvy them up again. So I guess look for another email.
Okay, so with no takers for the secretary position, we can talk about forming a team to do these minutes, because like Antonia dropped these dates in the chat. I mean, can everybody just say if they're going to be able to do this or not? Because we just need to keep it real. Like, yeah, did you start the 9:14 for Yvonne?
Tia did hers.
I thought she did.
Yeah.
Is she just still on the list? Or is that a second date?
I feel like I
She did
did
it.
one, and then maybe there's one more that I haven't done. Is that possible?
No, I think at this point in time, everybody was just assigned one.
Okay.
And everybody will be assigned another one, you know, for the dates up till now. So.
And I think, are all these minutes done? Like, I know I did mine.
No.
None of them are done.
No, some of them
I
are.
did mine.
Some of them are. It's about
Yeah.
like Tia, Nancy, Joseph, you, I think, did yours. Nana, did you do yours? I'm not sure.
No, I didn't do mine. I'm on
Okay.
the other side.
Okay. All right. So roughly half of them are done.
All right, we'll make a new list and hope for the best. All right, so next on the agenda is old business update on CEC15 workshops and future events. So Alfred and I have the majority of paperwork submitted to the CBO to get our vendors paid. We have these 2 more human rights workshops, but those are free. So as far as the workshops that we budgeted on our CEC15 spending, we still have about $500 left in those line items. And I'm thinking I might send another bid out to just do one more workshop, just to, you know, spend down the money. So I just wanted to get your thoughts. Do you feel like that's okay? Any reason not to?
My only concern is the paperwork to reimburse them. And if there are any dates that we're going to be butting up against that are going to create stress.
I kind of feel like, really, like, we have the next 2 Mondays set up, and if I could get something structured for the Monday after that, and then that's sort of like it. That was what I was thinking. I'm not gonna go like into the end of June or anything like that. Just because, like, thinking about civil rights and human rights concept, where yesterday we talked about sort of like this overarching ideas for employment and things like that. And then we're going to be having some sessions on LGBTQ rights. And I realized like we really are not hitting on any of the special education advocacy. So I was thinking if I could find some vendors who could speak to that, that would kind of like, you know, encompass more. It feels like it needs to all be sort of connected, at least in the time frame, if not through the human rights.
We had AFC. AFC, Advocates for Children.
Okay, I can call them. Yeah, I mean, I think we have to get bids, so.
I think they do it for free even.
Oh, okay, cool. Great. I will get in touch with them then. That's a good idea. Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Advocates for Children. Okay, so then update on the AA hiring. I'd like to ask Steve to come on the call and give us an update on the AA hiring.
Yeah, hey everyone. I don't have any updates. Last time I talked to HR was last week. I did follow up with them today. I have not heard back, so I apologize. There's no update for me to give you.
Okay, so hopefully we won't lose this candidate and have to start over again. That would be really highly disappointing. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so then we're gonna just move to the review of the resolutions. And in this first resolution, we're going to have a public comment period. This is the resolution to support school-wide enrichment model. And Joe, did you do the whole entire section?
No, there was no public comment. I'll just do that portion of it.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
The next section of this meeting will include a public comment period so that we may allow for additional feedback from our families and school community members on these resolutions. You may leave your camera on, or for your own privacy if you prefer, you may use audio only during the comment period and throughout the meeting. Rules of engagement. When you comment, please respect the privacy of others. Please do not include the names of children or staff. Guests who make inappropriate comments will be removed from the meeting. You may add comments to the chat or raise your hand to speak. Speakers will be called on one at a time and will be allowed 1 minute each for comment. We will hear as many speakers as the time allows. Thank you.
Okay, so Antonia, did you want to do
Why don't I share the screen?
Yep.
And I guess I'll just read it aloud. Resolution to support implementation of school-wide enrichment in D15. Whereas for the reasons set forth below, CEC15 hereby resolves to support the implementation of school-wide enrichment models, SEM, whereas the school-wide enrichment model, SEM, is a flexible research-based educational model founded by education psychologist Joseph Renzulli that applies the principles of enrichment to all students, whereas SEM focuses on students' talents and interests through individualized opportunities for instruction within a rigorous expanded curriculum in the least restrictive environment, whereas Renzulli defines giftedness not as an inherent characteristic, but as a behavior consisting of 3 rings. Gifted behavior is the moment when creativity, task commitment, and above average ability coalesce. SEM cultivates these behaviors through enrichment clusters, the general curriculum, and the continuum of pull-out and push-in services. Studies in 2006 and 2007 show SEM to improve outcomes across different academic levels. Whereas conversely, 4 decades of studies show tracking the process of sorting students by academic metrics negatively impacts students placed in lower tracks, but detracking has no impact on high-performing students. Whereas in 2019, the School Diversity Advisory Group recommended that the DOE resource the creation of new programs, including school-wide enrichment programs that have been widely employed in other districts across the country to ensure that all students are challenged and that New York City continues to attract a broad section of students. Whereas SEM is a way to promote integration, expand enrichment to all students, reinforce material missed during the pandemic, and grow interest and enrollment in our district schools. Whereas schools in District 15, like PS58, as well as Veritas Academy and Bell Academy in Queens, already employ SEM. And whereas with the support of parent leaders throughout the district, CEC15 and Superintendent Scott have been researching and discussing the creation of a school-wide enrichment approach at the elementary level pre-pandemic and plan to implement these ideas starting in the school year 2022-2023. Therefore, be it resolved that all children are born with unique gifts and talents, and it is our responsibility as an education system to nurture and help each and every child discover their true potential through experiential learning and enriched curriculum, all of which can be accomplished through a school-wide enrichment model. Be it further resolved that starting in the school year 2022-23, the DOE phase in various SEMs throughout District 15. And be it resolved that District 15 provide the following key district and school supports for elementary schools: create a district support position in the office of the superintendent to direct and manage academic enrichment, form a district level SEM advisory team that includes community volunteers, families, and caregivers, develop an SLT-based SEM committee at each elementary school, identify an SEM leader at each elementary school, curriculum development assistance, SEM PDs provided by the district, paid summer SEM trainings and retreats for teachers and staff, stipend for teachers that already have SEM certification, and identify planning time for teachers and staff.
So let's move to public comment.
Antonia, can you?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vincent.
Can you scroll to the second page first? What I asked? Yes.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, we actually were there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first what I asked say that studies show tracking the process of sorting student by academic metrics negatively impact student placed in lower track, but detracking has no impact on high performance. Can I make a motion to remove that whereas? I don't see that to be a fact rather than opinion.
Well, I mean, there is the link to the study. That study exists.
Well, I can put out another study to counter this.
Well, I'll just ask the rest of the council what you want to do.
We were supposed to be doing public comment first.
Okay.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Are you on mute, Joe?
Yes, give me a second. Sorry, I went to click the back to the script because the thing goes large and I closed it. So let me see. Yes, we'll move to public comment. We have a few people on tonight. Please raise your hand if you have anything to comment or question. All right, Johanna.
Hi. I just want to speak very much in favor of this resolution as a District 15 member, as a parent, and someone whose child has benefited greatly from the challenge of being in a diverse learning environment. I cannot see why anybody would ever vote against this, because it benefits all children. So I strongly encourage everyone on the CEC to vote yes.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions or comments from our public viewer? Let's move to CEC members.
Can we address Vincent's request?
Please do.
I guess I'll just put it to the other members. And I just want to ask Vincent if he would vote for this resolution if that section were struck.
Oh, yes.
What section was it? That's why I was trying to look for that. Which one?
So this right here, I just highlighted it.
Thank you.
And Vincent actually made a motion to delete that line. So there's a motion on the floor. And is there a second to delete that line? A second motion?
Wait, do you actually vote? I've never actually voted on that.
Yeah, that's how it works.
You have to vote to strike the line.
Yeah, unless there's like unanimous agreement on it already.
Okay.
Then you could just do it without a motion. But Vincent made a motion, so if there's a second, then follow through.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry. I need to stop sharing my screen so that I can update the notes. Here, I'll just copy this all and. I'm having some difficulty. My Google is frozen. Why is it frozen? Okay. So does anybody want to second that motion?
You mean seconded to vote on it?
Second the motion to strike the line that says, whereas conversely, 4 decades of studies show tracking the process of sorting students by academic metrics negatively impacts students placed in lower tracks, but detracking has no impact on high performing students. Does anybody second the motion to strike that line?
But is there a way that we can discuss it before so that we can sort of know what is impacted on the overall?
Sure, go ahead.
There's no second motion, then how does this work, Steve? The motion is not accepted. I don't know.
The
how
motion
that
just
works.
fails if there's no second. But if people want to take time to discuss it, you could always motion to just continue discussion on that point. Or
I would move to continue discussion if people want
Yeah.
to continue discussion.
Yep, I second that. Yeah, let's move to continue discussion on that.
yeah, unless someone's opposed, you don't need a roll call vote that one.
All right. So
Okay, wait, but if you second it, we're just voting to strike it or not.
Correct. That's the original motion.
right, but people want to discuss this. This line.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
so
we're not
the
doing
original
like a
motion.
second.
Yeah, the original motion failed. There was no second.
Okay.
So I'll continue discussion, and then after discussion, Vincent, you could always make the motion again with more clarity, so folks could decide to move forward or not. Just to jump in and try to make it clear.
So the floor is open for discussion, right, on this line.
Can you put it up on the screen again? Do you mind?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so so I guess the discussion, Vincent, can you make the point again that can we discuss that? If you can.
Yes. This statement basically saying that when we track students academic metrics, grades, performance, stuff like this, would negative impact student. I don't see that to be a fact. That's why I motioned to strike this. I'm fine with the rest of the resolution, but this line I will have to disagree with.
Okay.
I mean, from my perspective, it's 4 decades of studies. That's a lot of studies. And I did look at some of them. I would be willing to second the motion to strike this one line, even though I agree with it wholeheartedly, if Vincent is absolutely going to vote in favor of this resolution.
Yes, I have no problem with the rest of the intent of the resolution, but this line, it doesn't work that well.
I don't know why we would strike something from it that is true.
Yeah, hold on. I have Nakia.
Sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, yeah, it's the same thing that Tia just said. If it's fact based on research, and I get that the date, like even if you wanted to contradict that statement.
No, I can't because I'm not really sure.
Can somebody mute themselves?
I did it.
Okay. So, I can understand because it's a bit outdated. We tend to look at research that's, most 10 years old. I've just looked up on my Columbia account. I have 3 recent studies that backs this study. And again, this is a research study that is peer reviewed. I don't see why we would need to remove it. I don't see how that would benefit, even if you are opposed this resolution, what that would change considering the facts that have been documented regarding SEM. So I think it should stay.
Thank you. And I agree with that statement. I think it's not a very controversial statement. In fact, I mean, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who are arguably the architects behind, the last 40 years of tracking, has basically, not basically, 2 years ago, really announced that the last 40 years of experimentation were a disservice to all of these kids. This is based on tracking. This is based on these type of metrics. It's just not a controversial statement.
Thanks. So if I make it, I think for me, I'm just having a hard time just sort of understanding how this particular top paragraph relates to the overall this overall resolution. So when we're talking about metrics, and maybe I'm just looking at it the wrong way, I think we're talking about a broader metrics where, regardless of whether it's GNT or not, there's still metrics that goes on, right? Whether it's being, some sort of test, some sort of test, like, yeah, it may be true, but that doesn't, I think that's not a peculiar incident that really relates to the topic at hand, right? That's why I'm sort of kind of having a hard time seeing that. Is it really something that is specifically related to what we're talking about, the resolution, or overall? Yes, overall, yeah, there's something that back that. But for this resolution itself, how does it solidify the resolution to make it a bit stronger? I still don't really see that, unless somebody can explain that to me. I'm having a hard time kind of seeing that.
Well, if I may, SEM is the idea that you don't create tracks, that everybody is learning together and you can enrich everybody without creating tracks that are pre-sorted and stable across through the years. So it's just contrasting the model.
I think the point is that we can have school. It doesn't have to be either or. We can have school enrichment without while we're having the ability to know how kids are performed. Having school-wide enrichment doesn't mean that we no longer give quiz to our kids. That's way to assess their performance, to have a better understanding whether or not they know the subject. I don't see them to be binary, either or, one against another. I see that as SEM as a supplement to what we currently have. And having that line there, it creates an environment that it has to be either or, one against another. Just reiterate what Nana said. This doesn't make the resolution stronger in any way. And I do want to say that this is controversial. This is a discussion of many parents that who want have a way to tell whether or not their kids are doing better, instead of just saying, hey, we have enrichment and we're no longer going to give quiz to our kids to make the assessment. I don't think that's what school-wide enrichment is supposed for.
That's not what.
That's how I see it.
Hold on, let's stay in turn. Nakia, your hand is up.
Thank you.
All right, let me just sum it up there. Go ahead, Antonio.
Joseph. Yes, I wanted to add that to respond to Nana's question, and also to piggyback off of what Antonia said, it is directly connected to SEM in that it is the exact opposite of what would happen if it didn't exist, right? And so the purpose of SEM is that you do monitor students and how well they do based off of what they are interested in doing. And the fact that they now enjoy going to school and doing the work well. And what the outcome is, this is how you can use metrics, is that the school will perform better. And that's the whole point, right? The school wants to keep the money so that they can have the number of students, so they can have enough income or funding. They want to make sure that they don't close. So this actually improves the school, and that's how you determine how well the program is doing. So if a bunch of kids are taking tests and they fail, that means that the school fails, right? And so in this case with SEM, it's not just that the students make an improvement and you can notice that, you can track that and see it based off of their performance, but the school improves as well. And that is the overall, I think, that is what the research is really honing in on, that it's impacted on many levels, or it has impact on many levels. So.
Thank you. Nancy, I have you next on my screen.
Thank you, Joseph. I wanted to mention, as most of you know, my children attend one of the schools that's cited in the resolution, and they have quizzes, they have tests. So it really isn't a model that takes away quizzes, tests, grades. There are models that do that. This doesn't necessarily take those away. But what it does do is, for example, my son's best friend is doing math 2 grades above their grade level. So he is given enriched math so that he is able to really develop himself as a young mathematician. Whereas other children might be showing signs of needing enriched opportunities in other areas. So it's a beautiful way for all kids to be in class together and learning together, as well as receiving additional either support or enhancement. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Thank you. Vanessa?
Yeah, I think Nakia and Nancy have put it beautifully, that, first of all, I want to start with addressing the fact that I didn't understand Nana's comments to be against the line. I think that his comments were more inquisitive, which I think is a very welcome environment for this. I think it's important not to misrepresent people's words and change them into something they're not. As for the tracking itself, I do believe strongly that this is not something controversial. It's very well known that tracking accelerates achievement difference between the groups of children that we have, the students, and to differentiate them into low tracks or boost an achievement of other students that perhaps are more skillful by creating these metrics is something that can be harmful. And the fact that we do have a system like SAM to put these kids together to be able to see their qualities and their skills and still enhance them, but helping them also help other students in the classroom and learn from each other is how education should work. And that's how it works for everyone. So I do see this line as very much backing up not only the research in the studies that we have, but the sentiment behind having SEM implemented in our schools. And I'm very much pro keeping the line in there. I do think that is an important argument.
Thank you, Vanessa. I have Antonia next and then Johanna.
Yeah, so I'm just responding to Vincent's comment, interpreting this as there are no quizzes in the SEM model. I'm just very confused about where he gets this, because if you read the actual line, there are academic metrics. They measured the students in these studies. So you can measure students without putting them in groups. The objection is to sorting the students into groups, not to quizzing them and measuring them. They're going to be measured. You're still going to have tests. You're still going to have projects that are graded, and you're going to be measured. It's just that the enrichment is going to be for everyone, not just the one group that is designated as the highest achieving. Everyone is going to have the opportunity to meet their potential. So I just, this idea that you're not going to be quizzed anyway, I just don't know where that came from. It's very confusing to me. So.
Thank you, Antonia. Johanna, thank you for coming back.
No problem. Hi. I just wanted to say also that, a large part of my support for this is the rejection of tracking as a model. The tracking, and especially the way the DOE has done that, has created a system where it's not actually about challenging curriculum. It's about golden tickets. And I really could not believe more that the DOE should not be in the business of issuing golden tickets. And they should be in the business of making sure that students are challenged by their curriculum. And so I personally hope that the CEC opts to keep that line in, because it imports very, very important context for exactly what we're saying about what giftedness or what students who are academically advanced need, and the best way to serve them.
Excellent, thank you. Yvonne.
Yes, thank you, Joe. Just trying to go back to the actual, what is written in this resolution, which is basically saying that tracking impacts in a negative way to students, and that detracking has no impact on high-performing students. And Antonia is presenting the studies, the research about it, and I don't know, like Antonia said, I don't know where our council member gets this idea of that is no evaluations or no assessments or anything. We're just saying that tracking is impacted negatively to students. Detracking has no impact on high-performing students. And with SEM, we'll try to get everybody together, working together, being assessed, test projects and everything else, and everybody is observed accordingly. That's all what this line is saying. And I vote for keep this line in the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's proceed forward. I think we've discussed this enough that we can make an educated choice.
So I'd like to just make a motion to vote on this resolution.
I second.
Okay, Antonia, do you want to call the roll?
You're muted.
You're still muted, Antonio.
I'm doing paperwork. Okay, so Camille, how do you vote?
I approve.
Okay, Antonia, I approve. Tia?
Approve.
Okay, Vincent?
No, I will not support resolution that use opinion as fact.
Nana?
Approve.
Okay, Alfred is absent. Joe?
Approve.
Yvonne?
Approve.
Nancy?
Approve.
Vanessa?
Approve.
And Nakia?
Approve.
Okay, the resolution passes. All right.
Okay, thank you for your work on that. So we'll get it into a final form and send it to the DOE tomorrow. Okay, so the next resolution to discuss is the resolution to support a certified librarian in every school. We've had a number of conversations on this topic. And so now we have a resolution to support that. We were just going to review that tonight and share comments, but not vote. We would be voting in our next meeting on that resolution.
Camille, I read this resolution at the last meeting, and if I recall correctly, we did make comments. I don't know if, can we just take comments and not read the whole thing? Because I feel like we've read it.
We at least drop the link in the chat.
Yeah, I'll put it up on the screen,
okay,
and people can like look at it. And
sure.
It's just the only, I think, you know, we would like the people who wrote the resolution to be here when it gets voted on, so that is why we're not voting on it tonight. But I kind of feel like we discussed this quite a bit, and we had a presentation from them on all of this stuff. So
let's just read the resolves out.
Yeah, so I'll just highlight we in District 15, these are the schools that don't have certified school librarians on staff. It's extensive. I think there's like 24 schools or something on that list. And the resolve is, therefore be it resolved that the New York State Legislature enact a bill ensuring that a certified librarian is a funded mandate in every New York City public school to be enacted and enforced as a specified line item in each school's budget. So basically,
does anyone have any questions or comments to share?
Can you grant access to me? I just request access to the document.
Let me actually stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, it was weird. I couldn't get access to it either.
Okay, let's see.
And it's weird. I've seen it before, which is weird.
Well, hold on. Paperwork.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes. All right, I think you should all have it now. Ah, my screen is frozen.
Well, if we're going to vote on it,
We're not voting on it. No.
Yeah. If we're going to do it in another
guys,
meeting,
again,
maybe we shouldn't spend much more time
Yeah.
on this.
I think that's right. Is anybody else having trouble with the Google Docs?
I was trying to do it, but I'm just having the usual problem.
Mine is just acting.
Yeah, mine wasn't letting me in.
Yeah. It was freezing up. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next agenda item.
Okay, so
Antonia, can we ask a superintendent to give us some backstory on why the city schools are cutting librarians? Because I feel like we don't know much about the story about their cutting. Perhaps the reason is something else that we're not aware of.
What it is it's a mandate to have a librarian, but it's not a funded mandate in the law. So the principal, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, Camille, if I'm mischaracterizing this, the principal, they can move their budget around in ways that maybe they hire, maybe they have somebody else who's a staff member who's not a certified librarian do some of the work, or they bring carts of books, but you can't open your library officially without a certified librarian. And so a lot of the PTAs, some of the PTAs will get together and like try to like give the principal money for something else, and then other money goes to hire a certified librarian, and it's because it's not a funded mandate. And so they start using those rooms instead of for a library, they'll use it for another classroom or something else that the school needs. And it's just getting pushed to the side as a priority. And so these parents from 261 want a certified librarian as a funded mandate, so that the principal has to put it in. Or he or she has no excuse for not for moving money in the budget to different places. And did I mangle that?
So that was like almost right. Like the thing about, well, I just want to clarify how the money works with the mandated position. So earlier I was talking about how the Senate has a bill on the floor to mandate APs. So if you have a mandated position, that means that money actually then comes out of the central DOE budget. So it ends up on a SAM, on a school-wide allocation memorandum, so that the funding is no longer taken out of your school budget. It's actually given to you to fund that position. So there are a lot of advantages to having the librarian become a mandated member. It helps the schools to get what they need without having to change their budget or have to prioritize or not prioritize things that they need.
Thank you, Camille.
If we are mandating librarian, wouldn't mandate funding for librarian, wouldn't it make sense that there's some like bill or law to ensure the funding to open up the library. I mean, if they don't have funding to open up library, what's the purpose of secure the fund for the librarian? See what I mean?
So we definitely need to get a little bit of background on this, because a few years back, the DOE changed the rules about who is allowed to be in a library. So schools had libraries and they had someone there staffing the library, and that person might have gone to school and had like all of the training to be a librarian, but never actually got the certificate. And so the DOE did this, there were like a couple of years where there was like this transition period. So principals were told, you are only allowed to have a certified librarian on that line. And so the people who did not have the certificate, who might have had all of the education and just never got the certificate, were basically told they can't have that position anymore. And so they were sent to a classroom. So this is going on for like a couple of years now, and we're seeing the repercussions of that are.
Yeah, so it makes sense to have this read at the next calendar meeting, because then Anita can, you know, answer to this a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it would be a good question to ask Anita, you know, what is the, I mean, which one is first? The physical space for a library and a librarian, or, you know, we need to have one or the other or both. And then she can explain to us how does that work, so we can ask for a mandated position funding. And if there's that physical space in the school, and if it's not this physical space in the school, what can we do, or how does that works? Maybe she can explain that to us, because it's not clear to me right now.
Yeah, and the people from 261 who wrote the resolution will be better able to speak to this as well.
Okay, should we then move on to the next item?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next resolution is a resolution on district leadership teams. And could someone put it up on the screen, please? And I'll just give some background information on that. So this resolution was actually drafted last year in June. And it got delayed because we were trying to include the citywide councils in the resolution. And I went to their meetings, discussed this with them, because we didn't want to, you know, pass a resolution just making decisions for other people. And in the end, they said that we should just focus on the district CECs, because the citywide councils don't necessarily, they're not able to necessarily participate in the way that the district CECs could. And so the main point focuses on the CEC president or their designee being an active participant on the district leadership team. So in CEC15, our DLT is already running that way, and Superintendent Scott and the team actually want CEC to be an active participant and attend and give reports and work together. And so our district is doing this, but it's not in the law. And there was a lot of feedback from other CECs, other district CECs, that not only were they not part of the DLT, they were actually not encouraged or allowed to participate in district conversations. And so this resolution basically reflects the collaboration between CECs and district leadership teams, and asks for a change in the law for CECs to have a member, typically the president, could be somebody else, that would be for the CECs to decide, but would become a mandatory member on the district leadership team. So I will read this aloud. And the title is, Antonia, could you go up a little bit? Right?
Apologies.
Non-district leadership team composition and open meetings law requirements, whereas the New York State Education Department section 111 of the regulations of the Commissioner of Education requires school districts to develop and adopt a district plan for the participation by teachers and parents with administrators and school board members in school-based planning and shared decision-making. Whereas in New York City, each community school district has its own team known as the District Leadership Team, DLT. Whereas DLTs collaboratively create the District Comprehensive Education Plan, DCEP, which guides the district and impacts upwards of 1 million New York City students. Okay, we should probably change that. Let's just get rid of upwards of 1 million. Whereas per the NYC DOE Chancellor's Regulations A655, the required members of the DLT are, I'm getting all these topics here, community superintendent or designee, high school superintendents responsible for high schools that are geographically located within the district, or designees, CSA representative, which is the principals and assistant principals union, UFT representative, DC37 representative, president of the district's president's council or designee, president of the Borough High School President's Council or designee, chairperson of the Title I District Parent Advisory Council or designee. Whereas community-based organizations, CBOs,
the Google is working it's very finicky right now.
Sorry. So CBOs, the president of the district, CEC or designee, and a member of the citywide council on high schools whose child attends a high school geographically located within the district also may be included on the DLT. So that's like, you know, you can do it if you want to. Most councils don't. Whereas some districts choose to include representatives of community-based organizations, the president of the district DEC, and a member of the citywide council on high schools, where others do not. Whereas the Chancellor's Regulations A655 and the DLT's bylaws help guide and support DLTs. Whereas due to COVID-19 social distancing requirements, the Chancellor has provided guidance for DLT meetings to be scheduled and held virtually with access by phone or video conferencing. Whereas superintendents are encouraged to welcome parents to observe DLT meetings so that they're aware of the priorities of the district and how decisions are made. Whereas superintendents can promote these meetings on their district website through parent leadership bodies or via emails to parents and the entire district. Whereas DLTs were not included in the court case decision for school leadership teams to operate under open meetings law. Whereas although DOE guidance suggests that DLTs be open to the public, most DLTs still remain closed. Whereas Community Education Council, CECs, and citywide councils are not included as voting members in Chancellor's Regulations A655. Therefore, be it resolved that required members for each CLT include the president or designee or designated representative of the district CEC, and where CEC members are invited guests. Resolved that is a designee from each 4 citywide council, CCHS, CCELL, CCSE, CCD75, can actively participate as members at large in DLT meetings, and resolve that minutes from DLT meetings be publicly posted and shared with CECs and citywide councils. Be it further resolved that DLTs follow open meetings law, OML, in the same manner that school leadership teams follow the law. Anybody have any comments, or we can open it up to public comments as well?
Yes, let's start with public comments. Please raise your hand if you have any questions or comments for this. Let's move to CEC members. Nancy?
Thank you. I'll just comment that I was surprised to hear, Camille, that other districts don't invite their CEC members, or even worse, that they don't want them there. So I think, and thinking about what's going on in other districts and the positive the positive ability that our district has to work together with our CEC, I think it's really important to think about other districts and make sure that their CECs are also able to be present at that table.
Thank you. Looks like that is Tia.
Yeah, just want to say that this is really important, and thank you, Camille, for working on this. Very important.
Thank you. Okay, it looks like comment is closed.
So then we will just put this on the next agenda for a vote.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to check there's nothing in the chat, right? Okay. So the next resolution is a resolution to support their salary increases for occupational therapists and physical therapists. I think a few of you were at that meeting 2 weeks ago and heard some of the stories that were told. Basically that there are issues with pay parity. And so this resolution was drafted with fair pay for these essential workers. And if we could just put it up on the screen. I know that a couple of you had some comments and questions. I do not understand this issue deeply, so I actually have somebody here that can answer some questions, Miss Judy Lowell. So I will read it aloud and then we can go to questions or comments. So resolution to support fair salary increases for NYC DOE occupational and physical therapists. Whereas the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, identifies occupational and physical therapy as related services for eligible children ages 3 to 21 who require assistance to benefit from a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. Whereas the New York City Department of Education provides school-based occupational and physical therapy, both in District 75, which provides citywide services for students with disabilities, and in general education school settings. Whereas occupational and physical therapy services are provided by New York State licensed therapists to students mandated to receive such services as designated on their IEP individualized education programs. So that should be clear. Can you change that to plans, please? I'm not sure how that ends up there, programs. Whereas occupational therapy is designed to maintain, improve, or restore function of students in all education-related activities, including neuromusculoskeletal function, motor function, including fine motor, oral motor, and visual motor integration, sensory and perceptual. I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my screen here. Thank you. Perceptual function, cognitive, and psychosocial function. Whereas activities emphasize independence in daily living skills and school participation in various settings, including classroom, bathroom, cafeteria, and playground. Whereas physical therapy emphasizes physical function of gross motor skills and independence in different settings. Whereas physical therapists increase a student's ability to participate in various school functions by remediating or compensating for musculoskeletal, neuromuscular, or cardiopulmonary impairments, whereas physical therapists employ various techniques, including addressing deficits in body structure and function, suggesting adaptations to physical tasks, recommending assistive devices, and adapting the environment. Whereas occupational and physical therapists, OTPTs, bring a variety of additional benefits to our students and communities, helping children with disabilities succeed in their education and ultimately helping them to lead meaningful and productive lives. Can we just do ultimately, I don't know, helping or help, whatever. Whereas while OT-PT salaries start out higher than peers, they are soon overtaken and the total accumulation is surpassed. At 10 years, the salary difference is 7,000 to 16,000, and at the top, the pay scale, the disparity is 20,000 to 26,000 a year. Whereas OTPTs are offered $5,000 less annually than their professional peers for earning a master's degree. Whereas other professionals are paid overtime when work duties extend past normal hours, for example, to meet with parents to review students' learning plans. But OTPTs must volunteer their time or miss these crucial opportunities, such as IEP meetings, to collaborate on how to best serve their students. Whereas many therapists are heavily burdened with student debt due to low salaries. Whereas 60 to 75% of DOE OTPTs work second jobs. Whereas these conditions impact the ability of OTPTs to give as much to children in public schools as they would like. Whereas OTPTs are frequently denied classrooms and must conduct therapy in unsuitable spaces like storage closets and hallways. And whereas OTPTs have a 30-minute unpaid lunch as opposed to the 50-minute paid lunch granted to other DOE staff. Therefore, be it resolved that in valuing the work and essential support of New York City DOE occupational and physical therapists, these dedicated professionals deserve and will receive fair treatment and compensation. Be it further resolved that in every school throughout New York City, the Division of Space Planning and the Office of Facilities will collectively identify an OTPT room on the principal annual space survey that will provide appropriate space and necessary equipment for the OTPT staff to provide essential support to our children. Be it further resolved that all currently employed OTPTs will receive salary parity with other professional therapists retroactive as of January 1st, 2022.
Camille, would you just remind me which things you want edited? I just didn't catch them all.
Yeah, I
know
think
there
it was higher.
Planned in this
oh, yeah, right there, where it says IEP, like individual educational plan.
Oh, plans. Oh, right. Okay. And was there somewhere else?
It was just a grammar thing, and it right there, the bottom, the next page up. No, I'm sorry, like the first page, last whereas. It was just a question of whether this should be and ultimately helping them to lead meaningful, productive lives, because it was like after this comma, it was helping.
I'm wondering how much does DOE pay OT PTs? What's the salary range?
So I have Judy here to help assist these questions.
So the salary range, it's very complicated. The pay structure is very complicated. The starting salary depends on your years of experience prior to coming into the DOE. If you have any, whether you have a master's, the bottom starting salary, I would have to look it up. It's just incredibly complicated. That doesn't mean it's not a good question, but the basic thing is that we do start out a little higher than teachers and speech therapists, but that it's the graph, we're kind of quickly surpassed, so that we kind of averaged it out, and the accumulation is such that around 10 years we're behind, and that discrepancy continues. I do have one of our members. I'm a member of. I'm retired, by the way. I recently retired, but and I worked for almost 20 years in District 15 and at PS24, yay, PS24, and some other schools in District 15, a number of other schools. But I work with a group called OTs and PTs for a Fair Contract, and we've been working together for about 4 years. One of our members did prepare an infographic, which has a graph which shows these differences. And I'd be happy to send that to Camille to share with the group. It's hard to I'm not sure what the bottom salary is. The top salary, if you have everything top, it's $108,000 for therapists. And for teachers, I think it's like 120,000 or something like that. So that, at the top, it's kind of easy. And I just, off the top of my head, I don't know the bottom number, but I could send it to Camille if that would be useful.
Yeah, thank you. I think that if we can know the source of those data, that would be helpful, because
Sure.
When I'm using myself as an example. When I look for a job, I don't necessarily just look at salary. It's really the total compensation, total comp. Because when you work for one industry versus another industry, if you work, let's say, for example, if you work for finance, they may give you higher salary, but the benefit might be not so good. But if you work for city agency, your salary might not be as good, but you get great benefit. Sometimes offset one another. So if we can use a total compensation, that will help us understand where the disparity is. Of course, different position pays differently. Teacher that might be paid differently than the therapies. But comparing from one industry for another industry, if we using total comp would be a better and fair assessment there. That's my point there.
Well, the thing is that we're not necessarily comparing ourselves to therapists in other industries like hospitals and stuff. If you compare their salaries are way low. Starting salaries in the DOE are incredibly low for both physical therapists and occupational therapists, but that's not what we're looking at. We're not looking for pay parity with the private hospitals. We're looking at our colleagues who we work side by side with, and it feels these discrepancies, and it's not just in salary, but these discrepancies, just their grading, they feel very unfair because we're talking about colleagues who we really work side by side with on IEP teams, our speech and language therapists, social workers, guidance counselors, you know, people with similar education. And it's just that our salary and also our working conditions. So this thing about the 30-minute paid lunch as opposed 30-minute unpaid lunch as opposed to a 50-minute paid lunch. Like most of our colleagues are shocked when they hear that. And then the issues around space and equipment. And I know there were some questions about the overtime, and it is complicated to explain. And Joe raised some questions, and it's so. Of course, teachers work lots of time outside of the school day, and therapists do too. We write notes and so forth. But if you have a scheduled meeting that's on the schedule of the school, teachers, like for example, the clearest example is in the Horizon program. So there is a very established mechanism for teachers working in the Horizon program to get paid per session for attending Horizon team meetings. And OTs and PTs, this year, for the first time, there's a theoretical mechanism, but it just doesn't work. And the place that's also come out a lot is in the recovery services, where, and you know, OTs and PTs have actually not been paid. Now, theoretically, they're going to be paid, but it really hasn't happened. But for example, if there's an IEP meeting scheduled, our schedules are also don't line up with the school schedule. So we're supposed to work 6 hours and 55 minutes every day, 5 days a week. We don't have the extended day or the parent involvement time. So if an IEP meeting is scheduled during the, you know, a lot of schools schedule them during the parent engagement time. And if that's outside of our work hours, which it often is, there's no mechanism for us to get compensated for that extra time. It's not extra times for the teachers because that's in their contract. So usually people will stay or they won't stay, you know, and we're not mandated members of the IEP meeting. So we can say, look, I have to leave. I'm not going to stay. But it's those kinds of things that just become very grating on therapists and just make us feel really like we don't feel like second-class citizens in our schools usually, where teachers are appreciative of us, administrators are usually appreciative of us, but it's this policy of the DOE that makes us feel like, you know, what is it? Are we, you know, are we chicken liver or what, you know, and for some therapists, that's also exacerbated by the fact that the DOE bills Medicaid for our services. And so, you know, we're also an income generating service. Now, we don't feel like we're better than anybody else. We don't want to get more than teachers. We're not saying pay us like the hospitals pay us, but we're saying pay us like our colleagues are paid and give us the similar respect and working conditions. It is very different. You know, we're not teachers, but there are other professionals working in the DOE who are also not teachers, who we feel like are accorded more respect. So that's kind of the nature of it. You know, the exact wording of that paragraph, that whereas about overtime, you know, it's that was our best wording in this open letter to kind of point out the problem. And, you know, you could maybe put in something about, I mean, we could probably rework that so that it is accurate, because I understand your questions about that, Joe.
Thank you. And I did have, there's a couple of I think there's a balance between writing a resolution that ends up being 7 pages long and sort of like qualifying each and every statement with evidence
Right.
and all of that. But at the same time, like, I really want to vote for this resolution. I completely agree with you, 100%. But some of the statements in there do sound more perhaps anecdotal, like and I'm not saying that they're not factual, but to say that like 60 to 75%, that sounds like a really vague statistic of OTs, PTs that have part-time jobs. You know, it does feel like that somebody could very easily latch on to a statement like that and say, oh, this isn't a credible document now.
Yeah.
I don't have to listen to that.
You know, I think I hear what you're saying, and the spirit of the resolution, I think, is really more important than the details. So you know, and that particular whereas, that's from a survey that we did. So I would have no problem with striking that. I also think, you know, it's really cool to the resolution about the back pay and all of that, but I don't know how realistic that is. And I think, just speaking for my colleagues, for our group, any general statement of support for, you know, our slogan is pay parity, resources, and respect. And that's basically a resolution, even if it was much pared down, that said that parents are behind this request, would go a long way to boosting our spirits. And I think towards our campaign for a better contract, which is basically what we're looking for. So I would be in favor of taking out anything that could be attacked and not just attacked, but questioned. So, you know, the 60 to 75%, that could certainly be taken out. You know, the statements about salary and the statements about the master's differential, you know, those are very clear. And even just that, I think, is, you know, there's also, we're in a different pension system that people say is not as good, but that's determined by the state. And, you know, you don't have to get all the details in there. So I'll stop talking, but I think pare it down, that would be fine.
Yeah. Thank you. I think we will close comment period. We need to move forward, but Judy, thank you so much for coming and representing OTs and PTs on this call.
Well, thank you so much. This meant a lot. So the only thing, there's a chapter meeting tomorrow. So you're not voting on this yet. So we won't present any. Our chapter leader asked me for the resolution, and I'll say it's still in draft and it hasn't been approved, and we're working on it. You're working on it. So thank you so much. And once you have a final version, just share it with me.
Will do. Thank you for being here, and thank you for answering the questions.
Sure. No, my pleasure. Thank you so much for all the good work you do.
Thank you. Okay. So, Antonia, do you want to talk about the school-wide enrichment forum?
Okay, hold on.
And I just want to note that we're 6 minutes to ending, but we still have a solid 15 minutes of conversation, if not more.
We are working on creating a forum on school-wide enrichment. We have 2 dates that we're sort of working from, Monday, June 6th or Tuesday, June 7th. We're trying to squeeze this one in before the return to in-person meetings. And so we're working on creating a panel to discuss this topic. And I guess stay tuned.
And we were planning to do this anyway, but then Chancellor Banks was saying, oh, you know, invite me to District 15. I'd like to have this conversation with you about SEM. So I've written to him and invited him to come, told him about our idea for this panel, asked him if he would, you know, have a 30-minute conversation at the end of the panel with us, CEC members, and with families, so that it would be the speakers we'll ask them a couple of questions and they'll all answer them, and then the Chancellor would be part of it at the end. So that's sort of where we are right now in that thinking. And of course, if anybody wants to help with the planning, feel free. And okay, so then the next item is gifted and talented update. So it's been about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more, since the mayor announced that the DOE would be expanding gifted and talented programs in every district. And as you know, we already have 3 schools with K to 5th grade GNT programs in District 15. Those are PS 32, PS 230, and PS 38. So the DOE asked districts who already have K programs like us to add 1 3rd grade class per district. And CEC members met with Superintendent Scott during the district leadership team meeting. Conversations ensued throughout the week. We had a conversation at our diversity committee meeting, at our CEC calendar meeting on April 26th, and the majority of families and teachers and CEC members spoke against the expansion and instead asked for an expansion of school-wide enrichment. So the New York City Board of Education, the PEP, had a meeting on April 27th. Many teachers and parents from District 15, including myself, spoke against the expansion in our district, and the chancellor was very clear that District 15 would not be allowed to opt out. And all superintendents were told that they must submit a site by May 6th, or a site would be determined for them. And I'm so sorry. So as things turn out, we only actually have 1 school in our district that met guidelines that were predetermined by the DOE, which was that they needed to have at least 3 classrooms for expansion of the model. And the program could not be opened in a school that already had an existing gifted and talented program. So the only school in our district that fits that qualification is PS 24. And I have not seen the numbers myself. PS 24 is my liaison school. I am not convinced that this addition of another program would not compromise existing programs in that school. So I would like to have a very deep dive into what this is going to look like should it come to fruition. But in an effort to maintain equity, I wanted to suggest that whatever programs open in our district, we would apply the standard diversity and admissions metrics, and also include seats for students in temporary housing and foster children, which is not typical. We have to make sure that no one school feeds this program. So I would like to propose that no more than 2 children from each of our elementary schools would get a seat in the program. So those are 2 ideas that I had, and I'm just wondering if there are any other suggestions, because I think that we need to write a letter to the chancellor. Thoughts? Nancy?
I think it's a great idea to make sure that there are seats available for students in temporary housing and foster children. I believe is PS24 the school that has quite a large population of students who are in temporary housing. No? Oh, okay. I remember there's
124.
Ah, okay. All right. But I think that would be a great idea. I don't know if it would make sense to expand on the precedent set by the rezoning, where additional groups also receive priority. But the additional priority groups from the rezoning were NYCHA residents, students whose families qualify for reduced lunch, and English language learners. And then additionally, I think it makes perfect sense to say that 2 students from each school would be able to go. I mean, that would both create the diversity within the classroom that we would want there to be, so that it's students from throughout the district. And it's also fair that way, so that no school becomes a feeder school for this program.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to just highlight that a diversity in admissions standard the DOE uses does do FRL, ELL, but we definitely should suggest NYCHA. Thank you. And then another thought about the no more than 2 students from any one school also is an effort to help the schools not lose so many students if students want to go into the program.
Well said.
I noticed we had a couple more people join the call, so I wanted to open it up to public comments. Anybody on the call, please feel free to make a suggestion. If you'd like, raise your hand. Does anybody want to share their thoughts on gifted and talented additional programs in D15?
I mean, I think we shared it.
Okay, so then I'll draft a letter and I will share it with you all. Okay, great. So then next on the agenda is the superintendent evaluation, and the DOE shared a template with everybody. We have about 30 days to work on this evaluation for our superintendent. In the past, we collected information on a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet calculated the ratings for each line. So we can do that again, but basically everybody would have to submit their feedback by June 9th. It's going to take a while to put everything together, and then we would vote on that on the end of the June 14th business meeting. So if we can't get it together in time, we're going to have a special session. So also, just in terms of seeking public comment to have more voice in the evaluation, you're encouraged to gather information and feedback from your liaison schools. And if you do receive anything in writing or otherwise, just please share it with us so that we get a sense of what people are thinking. Anybody have any questions? Okay, so then last thing on the agenda, discussion of hybrid meeting. So we are going to be going back in person. We will, I think what we should do is try to have all of our business meetings at 131 Livingston Street, just to make things easier. Since we don't typically have public comment at the business meetings anyway, we can just live stream the meeting. And for the calendar meetings, we're going to just go back to in-person meetings at a school, and we bought the equipment to do hybrid. So we'll see how it goes and hope for the best. But I wanted to have a conversation about everyone coming back in person, and do we want to have a conversation about if we would allow members to be on the teleconference line versus in person? From what I understand, we need to have a minimum of 6 people in person. Steve, is this true? Steve is saying wait for guidance.
There'll be a document coming out. They're going back and forth on legal to have all the correct information so that can get sent out to councils. And we'll also have guidance on how to run a hybrid meeting well, and also some bits about equipment as well. So it's currently being worked on. The goal is to have it out at the beginning of June.
Okay, so it doesn't give us much time for the permits and all of that, but
well,
as usual, we will just move forward.
You should still get the permits, and try to find a school that has good Wi-Fi. And a tech person, if you can, if they have one. That would be the most ideal situation.
Yes, it would.
So sorry. So that means that the members in the council are gonna have to be in a school, and we need to open doors and because we don't have an administrative assistant. So are we gonna divide the schools among the members in all that we need to figure it out, or we're gonna get some guideline or
on what? I mean, you get a permit with the school, and then they'll have the school open for you. All you have to do is set up the room.
Okay. All right.
And hopefully there's someone there that assists with the technology is what the best thing to try to do is. I know you've been in a school that has a technology person before.
Yes. Okay.
We'll figure it out. We'll just do the best we can. That's all we can do. Okay, and then so the very, very final thing is the bylaw amendment about adding the equity committee. So Nancy, were you able to get that ready?
Or
you have host privilege.
My screen.
Okay.
Okay. Can everybody see? Okay, so in the bylaws under Article 5, committees, It states that the council may create committees and define their membership as it may determine. And the current CEC15 committees include the Communications Committee and the Legislative Committee. And ad hoc committees may be formed as needed for short-term projects of less than 6 months and will dissolve after the project completion. So currently, the Diversity Committee is an ad hoc committee that would be dissolving again this month, or after this month, I should say. Under Article 8, amendment of the bylaws, these bylaws may be amended at any regularly scheduled calendar meeting of the council by 6 members of the council, provided the amendment has been presented in writing to the public at the previous calendar meeting and appears in the notice of meeting as amended. Adoption of the amendment / revised draft shall be by motion or resolution included in the notice of meeting. Amendments are effective immediately unless otherwise stated in the motion resolution. So I think, Camille, this is where it is 3 meetings, one of those meetings falling to the business meeting. So we are not able to vote on this today, but the plan will be to put it into it was presented last calendar meeting by Tia, and so then the vote would be at the next calendar meeting. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, great. So basically we would add a 3rd committee, and that would be the equity committee. So it's just that one line. Vincent just shared a link with me about the open meeting law, but Vincent, could you drop it in the chat to everybody? I can't copy it and paste it to share. I'm not sure, but just on very fast glance, it seems that it does actually apply to us. And it's saying that the New York State Legislature authorized local public bodies to conduct meetings via video conference through June 30th, 2024.
I haven't heard anything about that, unless it's new.
It might be new. I mean, there were some posts. Well, this is dated April 19th, though. I'm so confused.
So there's a difference between video conferencing and doing what you're doing right now. Like video conferencing is just when what you were explaining before, where you have members in person and you have someone video conferencing in. It's not allowing total virtual meetings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, they did. So I guess that would make sense, but it's the same thing like before. If everyone was in person and some people couldn't make it, they'd still have to be in a public location or allow the public into the location where they're at.
And it says community boards in a city with a population of 1 million or more shall make their own determination as of the use of video conferencing. All right, so then, I mean, we basically have to wait for the DOE guidance and then we can revisit this. Thanks for sharing that, Vincent. This is very helpful.
Sure.
Good find. All right, everyone, if there's nothing else, I will make a motion to adjourn at 8:44.
Cool. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
See you soon.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.